watching FI. I am Sonal Mehrotra Kapoor. Now, through the course of various episodes that we've done on air pollution right here on FII, you by now know what is PM 2.5, what is PM 10, what sort of gases are actually going to be cancerous, what is said to be absolutely toxic for your health as well. So the next step is then how do we deal with this problem? Air purifiers, so many of them now in the market, do they really work? Another thing doing the rounds is these air purifying plants. A lot of them now being talked about in the market and people saying, well, they can purify your air and they must be kept inside. Lots of sales happening online and offline for these air purifying plants as well. So we thought, let's do a quick fact check on this and understand, do air purifiers, all of them, some of them, do they work? And do air purifying plants, all of them, some of them, do they work at all? So without any further delay, let's get started with our explainer. Important to understand what exactly is the job of the air purifier in your house right now. What is it exactly that it is filtering out? Now it is designed mostly, or most of the air purifiers out there in the market currently, the big brands easily available, will take out dust, will take out smoke, will take out pollen. Filters do not catch gases. Let's be very clear about that. Another thing that they do not catch is something called a VOC, that's volatile organic compounds, or any random adhesive, paint cleaning, dry cleaning products as well. The smells that you keep hearing, they don't they can't filter that out at all. In fact, the Environmental Protection Agency also goes on to say that the functionality of the air purifier is limited to terms of filtering out gases, and that also not all gases, remember. Which gases do they not filter out, we'll tell you. The most important thing in your air purifier is, by now you should know, your HEPA filter. There are going to be several filters over there. The most important is HEPA filter. HEPA filter, you now know, because of the new updated norms post-COVID, is now made mandatory in all hotels, is now made mandatory on all airlines as well. So the government really making sure that the basic level is covered. So HEPA filter is key. HEPA, what exactly is it? What does it stand for? It's an acronym for high efficiency particulate air. HEPA filter basically captures the various size particles within the multi-layer netting that it has. It is composed of dense sheet of small fibers pleated and sealed together with metal or plastic sort of several frames as well. HEPA filter also come in different categories. Which category works for what size of room is something that we'll take forward in our conversation as well. But you know, it all really boils down to, if you are still thinking about buying an air purifier, that is if you don't still have one and you want to buy, what exactly are you looking for, right? That's the information that everybody needs. So for that, you need something called a CADR. That is your clean air delivery rating that air purifiers have. The cleaning speed of purifier of removing smoke, dust and pollen. And you must also look for a clean air delivery rate. Now, clean air delivery rate, when you're buying, ask the person selling this to you, or online when you're looking for it, check that it should be at least 300. If it's above 350, that's going to be a good buy for you. It should suffice in a normal Indian size room, that is. You will need a model that will work for your room size. That of course will differ from model to model, from brand to brand. So do check that up. And also very important to check, if you're buying an air purifier, is the verification that comes from AHAM, that's the Association of Home Appliances Manufacturers as well. Now, true HEPA filters are effective at removing ultra fine particles as well. HEPA filters also, like I said, have degrees. The key to remember is, if it's a very high efficiency of HEPA filter, it will need to be changed more often. Also remember that if it is a very high intensity and very high quality HEPA filter, it will take longer to sort of filter out your air. So keep that sort of dynamic in mind. Don't think, a lot of people go with their AQI meters in hand and try to check at the outlet, which is very quickly filtering out the air. The time it's taking to filter out the air is not so much important. What's really important for you is to see how much of purity are you actually getting, and then it'll depend on various other issues as well. But that's all you need to know about air purifiers. But what is this whole deal about oxygenating plants, right? Or air purifying plants? Now, if you, like me, go to a lot of online websites even to buy plants, then you see a new category there that has come up which says oxygen plants or air purifying plants. What are these? Do they really work? That is the question that we raised, and we looked at some studies over there. And to be fair, not a lot of studies speak very highly about these air purifying plants. This one study that we bring to you today has been quoted quite extensively. Nat Geo is talking about it, several other magazines quoting them as well. This is the Journal of Exposure Science and Environmental Epidemiology, a very respected journal, and they go on to say that house plants, though charming, do little to purify air in the room. That's what scientists say. Also, they say that plants have negligible impact on indoor airborne volatile organic compounds, also adding that indoor plants may have a positive impact on occupant well-being. Well, understand what well-being is. It could mean different for different people. But the downside is that indoor plants may have increased humidity as well. So basically saying it's not going to cure, it's not going to filter out the air, but it does have some positives as well. What exactly are those positives, and what else should you keep in mind while going out to buy air purifiers? What we'll take it up with our panel now. Joining us today is Raghu Reddy, is the Chief Business Officer for Xiaomi India. Hi Raghu, welcome to FII. Lots of questions to you. Does it work? Does it not work? Competition questions, all of that coming. So brace yourself for that. We also have Mishika joining us. She's the founder for Plants and Pots. Also with us is Siddharth, is the founder and CEO of Ugao. Lots of tough questions to you because scientists clearly don't agree with what you guys have been saying. So let's see what you guys have to say on this front. Joining us is Dr. Abhinav as well. He's a consultant pulmonologist at Sir Gangaram Hospital. So when everybody is done selling their products, you tell us what is actually to go for, right? That's why it was very important to get a doctor here on the panel. And also with us, the expert, whom I will give the first word as well, Ravi Kaushik is with us. He's the CEO of AiRTH, am I saying that right, Ravi?
Yeah.
Okay, great. It's basically antimicrobial air purification technology developed by IT Bombay. He's an environmental engineer to start with. So he knows more about this stuff than anybody else on the panel. So let's start with you, Ravi. This entire thing, first question really, according to science, when it comes to air purifying plants, do they work, do they not work? I'll come to air purifiers next.
So just to give you an analogy, just imagine that you have a mosquito. These PM particles are very small particulate matter which are around you, right? Consider them to be mosquitoes. Now I have this plant, right? What's the impact this plant will create on that mosquito which is around me? I hope you got the analogy right? Because these PM and 2.5 or 10, nothing much that plants can do. They just act as a surface where suspended particles can settle.
But you have a plant.
Which is also, yeah, but
why do you have one then?
Get a peace of mind. Yeah, because it gives me peace of mind, right?
So when they said well-being, this is what they meant. Peace of mind, not purification of air. That's what you're saying.
Definitely not. Yeah. Maybe some exchange of gases, but when you open your window or your door, right, it's just gone away.
I see. Okay, let me come to air purifiers next. Now, lots of products out there in the market. I know you have your product as well. So a big disclaimer over there, something that a lot of you from IT Kanpur, Bombay, Bangalore, etc. have been coming together and working on something. It's a product that is, by the way, in RBI office. Is that correct? You actually managed to convince RBI to buy all these products, and this is where this is being used as of this moment. But tell us, when looking at air purifiers, I spoke about 2-3 things that one must keep in mind, right? Check your HEPA filter, check the quality, several other norms the government has laid down as well. But what is, if you could, sort of name 3 things that if I today go out living in Delhi's air, right? It doesn't get worse than that. Living in the national capital region, if I go out and buy an air purifier, what are the 3 things I must have?
So one, definitely, as you said, you should look for CADR, but also we should understand they can only help us with PM 2.5, 10 in certain particles. They cannot help you with removing the harmful gases which are around you. And second, they cannot help from the viral particles which are around you, because effectively what they are doing, they're capturing everything inside these air filters, right? And these air filters become a breeding ground for germs, right, which can resuspend back into the air and can infect you. So that's the difference. When you are going out there, you should be only considered about that it is going to help me only purifying the air, PM 2.5 and 10, not from viral contamination in the air around me, and also the gases which are around me, harmful gases.
Okay, hold that on. Did you just rewind back to the fact you said that it can resuspend germs back in the air? What is that all about?
Right. So just imagine that you have these air filters, right, and where you have germs, right? Because there is, I'm sure you must have gone through air purifiers. They have these blowers, right, which run really fast. So there is a pressure being created by these blowers, right? So a particle which is captured here can again be resuspended back because of this pressure being created by this blower. And these germs can again resuspend back into the air, which usually happens in ducts.
I see. So the important thing is to have a HEPA filter. Also, the important thing is to change it then and change it at regular intervals. I understand commercially when used in, say, hotels and airlines, etc., there is a strict norm. But when it comes to using it inside your house, as a customer, you're always wondering, is this company just trying to make me buy another filter, make me want to buy and put in more money, or do I generally need a change in filter? Which brings me to what Raghu is here to tell us today. Raghu, go ahead with your thoughts on what exactly is it that air purifiers are doing? Is it enough in the current toxic cocktail of air that we are all breathing in the National Capital Region?
Thanks, Sonal. I think you've done a fantastic job explaining everything about air purifiers to most people watching the show. Is it enough? I'm not particularly equipped to answer whether they're enough or not, but I think it's a necessity in the current situation where the AQI levels are hovering at around 350, 400, which comes in the the zone of what being very poor or severe. In that scenario, specifically inside your home, having a room air purifier typically helps you, control the quality of air indoor. Because it's indoor, I mean, the air purifier tends to work a lot better overall, and tries to bring it down from the levels that we spoke about to a manageable level of 50 to 100 or even less than 50 in about a few minutes overall.
Right.
So that's where I think the air purifiers come in. And then, like you rightly mentioned, I think what's important when you're choosing your air purifier is really figuring out what's the clean air delivery rate. Because if that's not enough, that might not be good enough for you to clear out or clean the air very quickly within the stipulated time. The second important bit, of course, is also the kind of filters that you have. Again, you rightly pointed out, you should try to look out for HEPA filters. HEPA filters, by definition, are tested to theoretically stop filtrates or particulate matter of up to 0.3 microns and with an efficiency of 99.97, which means that, if you have that, you're really taking care of most of the dust related or the other particulate matter that's really hovering around in the air. It gets captured in the filter. The third important point that maybe people should look out for specifically is also to see if they can get something that allows them to measure the air quality. Right now, everyone is aware that it's not in the zone of being good. But if you buy an air purifier that also allows you to real-time check what the AQI levels are, it will give you a good indication.
No, but I don't trust the AQI levels on my air purifier. I rather get another one because I don't know what's in there and who's selling me what. So I'm very sort of not trusting companies over there, please. And also, Raghu, the question to you really is that there are so many air purifiers now, so many big brands have jumped into this. I know Xiaomi is doing it, Philips, there's Dyson, there are so many others as well. Honeywell, there are air purifiers now for your car, there are for your rooms, and especially ones made for kids and hot and cool air and God knows what all tech. At the end of the day, what exactly is it that separates, say, your Xiaomi's air purifier from, say, the rest? I'm just trying to understand, is there a difference in tech or is everybody selling basically the same thing?
I think the fundamental principle remains the same, but if you look at how it actually gets executed, I think that's where the difference is. I think, for example, the Me Air Purifier 3, which is one of the best sellers in this particular segment, is very different from a lot of other air purifiers in the sense that it's got a 360-degree design, which means when you keep it inside your room, it's collecting air not from one side of the room, but across the 360 degrees of the device. It collects it from the bottom and then filters it and then pushes out the clean air from the top. Right now, that means that your ability to drive cleaner air is actually a lot faster in a device like the Mi Air Purifier. Of course, there are other designs as well, wherein it takes it from one side and then releases it from the other side. So that, along with the fact that you also have an access to the AQI levels on the device itself. That is of course driven by a laser particle sensor that's embedded into the device.
Sure. Ravi, how important is cleaning the air quickly? If you could come in at this point, because I remember we discussed how HEPA filter doesn't matter how quickly they're doing it. What matters is the quality at which it is using. And if you could give us an idea of, say, a regular room size in an Indian household, how big an air purifier does one really need?
So there are definitely grades of HEPA filters, right? H12, 13, 14. So you don't necessarily need H14, which is really high grade, right? It will work really well. Yeah, in households you might not need that. Those might be required at hospitals, right? Because that's where zero kind of contamination is required. Because if you are using those kind of HEPA filters, H14 type, you have to change them frequently, right? And the airflow would be reduced because pressure there is really high.
I see. So look for one. So H12, you're saying H12 would be a good standard to have in your house. And is this something, but talking about air purifiers, and I know I have to take a break quickly if I could go to the doctor once, because there have been questions about constantly being around air purifier filtered air and what it can do to your lungs as well. I know there are questions of humidity, on how it dries out your lungs, and then humidifiers come in, and there is another tech altogether, another machine altogether that you need. But Doc, please take us to what exactly is the health criteria there. Does one really need, or is there a drawback of staying in a room which is constantly running on an air purifier?
Well, I don't think there is any contraindication or any bad effect of being in a room with clean air. So it definitely is better to be in an environment which is less in the amount of PM 2.5 particles and cleaner is as we say. But at the end of the day, we are not living in closed houses. Our doors are opening every day. Our windows are opening every day. The same particulate matter is coming in and going out. The root cause of the problem is that there is just far too much of particulate matter and not too much of air to sort of flow it away. So if you're in a room with a HEPA filter, there is no bad impact as such.
Good to know that.
The humidity in our continent is not bad at all. We are all sort of okay with the humidity factor. We don't need extensive humidifiers except for when there's too much cold or where there are extremes of weather where there is extreme drying. But even then, that does not cause a bad impact because our body has balances, our body has inbuilt mechanisms to counter that.
Good to know that. Let's take a break. When we come back, I know our friends from the plant's air purifier have been waiting, and we'll hear from them and what they have to say when it comes to purifying air. Is that possible through plants? We'll find out on the other side. Welcome back. So we talked about air purifiers, everything that you must keep in mind when you're buying one. Let's talk about air purifying, so-called air purifying plants. Siddhant, do you want to take a first go at that? Where lots of studies and scientists also saying, there's one sitting on the panel with us who says, well, they simply do not help in purifying air.
So Sonal, I'm a staunch believer that plants really help purify air. Yes, I agree that there are studies that show that, plants do
Why?
not really help, but there are also studies that kind of, show that, there are NASA studies that show that they really help remove toxins from the air. So there are,
Could you
both
name
the
what
sides,
kind
I
of
think, are
toxins?
true. So essentially, there are four main toxins, I would say: benzene, formaldehyde, carbon monoxide, xylene, and also trichloroethylene. So plants have been proven to cleanse the air. I'm not talking about particulate matter as such, but these essential, these gases that are there because of, chemicals that we use, or even, usage of gadgets and all. So plants have shown a tremendous impact in that area. And, I firmly believe that, it's not about breathing better, it's about feeling better, and plants have that angle, to them.
Right. Feeling better, totally with you. I buy plants all the time, and my house is like a mini jungle, but I'm not sure if that is helping me breathe any cleaner air. And I think that's a sentiment across a lot of people. Mishika, let's get a comment from you, and then I'll go back to Ravi to counter these things. Mishika.
So Sonal, I completely agree with what Siddhant says. There might not be enough studies which say that, plants do purify the air. But, if you compare yourself and you visit a place which is surrounded by plants, you'll feel the difference. So if I enter my room which has plants, I feel the difference that, the air is more
You're losing
pure.
the argument there when you say you're feeling the difference and not telling me what that difference is.
Yes. But
30 more seconds and I'll go back to Ravi.
Yeah, so I feel that, they are natural, and that's the way we humans are supposed to be, that nature has created for us, that, air has to be purified by plants. So I totally agree that we need to switch to a more natural way of, purifying the air by planting more trees around us and having more plants in our households as well. And so that's my take on it completely.
Okay. Ravi, so, there's no doubting that plants help in the entire oxygen system in the environment, right? Like, that's why we want to plant more and more trees, etc. I'm just not sure if the label of air purifying plants is the right label to go by when you're selling these plants out. I'm just not sure about that. But Ravi, so Siddhant gave us lots of gases. I'm sure you heard over there, from monoxide to several others. Do you want to counter then and, give us some scientific gyan on is it true, is it not?
Yeah, it will be true, but it depends what kind of residence time have you given to those gases, right? If you've used this kind of jar, right, for let's say 7 days, right, and then you've seen the reduction, is that something which is mimicking what happens in the real life? Absolutely not, right? And that's what I said in the beginning also. When you're using plants, there might be some absorption of the gases, but again, because you don't live in a very closed room, there are air leakages around us. You open windows, doors, right?
I
And
see.
because of gases, if they are being decreased by these plants, will again come back to the normal or ambient concentration which is there in the atmosphere.
All right, so lots of good information there to soak in. Last 10 seconds I have, and I want to go to Dr. Abhinav over there. Dr. Abhinav, what do you use? Do you use an air purifier? Do you sit with an air purifier and an N95 mask on every time?
I don't actually. I don't even have an air purifier at home. So that is what being honest is. But at the same time, what we should try and do is minimize our outdoor exposure, keep our doors shut, keep the doors and windows covered with thick curtains, so that the particulate matter does not enter in. And if it does, it settles in. You can use air purifiers if you are a patient of some respiratory disease which you know that is going to worsen you, and also use the plants. That is what I generally tell my patients as well, because these gases, some of them, they do get exchanged, plus the moisture content of the room increases with which these particles settle down and they get cleaned away.
Right.
So this is what practically I think should be done.
Right.
But
I love
would
how
not,
the show has ended on a very peace note. Use air purifiers, also put from plants. It will keep your lungs and your mind very happy. So that's a good note to leave on. Thank you all for joining us on this very fascinating discussion. If you have something else you want us to talk about on FII, do write into us. We'll pick up that issue as well. For now, it's bye.